What if I told you the greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't out there, but in your own mind? And the enemy's first weapon is making you believe there's no war at all. This battle for the mind is not yours alone. We stand watch together. If you seek to arm yourself with truth and guard your heart against the enemy's whispers, subscribe now. Let each word we share be another stone added to the fortress of your soul. The mind is not a quiet meadow, but a battlefield. Though the enemy's most insidious weapon is to persuade you there is no war at all, it is a cunning strategy, for if one does not believe a battle is taking place, there is no reason to stand guard. The enemy slips through unchallenged, not with a roar but with a whisper, not with a sword but with a subtle suggestion. He prefers his work to go unnoticed, planting thoughts like seeds, small, harmless at first, until they grow into towering lies that choke the garden of your soul. It is not the obvious attack that poses the greatest danger, but the silent one. A soldier will brace himself when he hears the clash of steel, but what defense does he raise when the threat moves like a shadow? The mind, left unguarded, becomes a playground for deception. A whisper says, "There is no battle. This is simply the way things are." And so the thoughts that ought to be examined slip by unquestioned. I am alone. I am not enough. Things will never change. These are not mere reflections of reality. They are arrows poisoned at the tip, designed to wound the soul. What is more alarming is how easily we accept these thoughts as our own. The enemy does not need to shout because his greatest trick is to make his voice sound like yours. He will present his lies in your own tone, in your own words, so that you do not even think to resist. And once the mind is lulled into believing there is no war, the heart is left undefended, and the strongholds of truth begin to crumble. The battle is real. The danger is not only in the attack, but in forgetting that the attack is happening at all. Evil rarely roars, it whispers. It does not announce itself with banners and trumpets, but moves in secret, sowing its seeds quietly into the soil of the mind. A shouted lie is easily spotted and quickly rejected, but a whispered falsehood slips past the guard, sounding almost reasonable, almost true. It is the subtle twist of a good thing, the faint suggestion that bends a thought ever so slightly off course. The most dangerous lies are not the bold ones, but those that wear the skin of truth. Consider how these whispers creep in. They do not say, "Abandon all hope," for such a command would stir resistance. Instead, they murmur, "Things will never get better. Why bother hoping?" They do not shout, "You are worthless," but softly suggest, "You will never be enough for them." These thoughts, once entertained, do not remain idle. Like roots growing beneath the surface, they spread, entangling the mind, darkening the heart, until what was once a mere whisper becomes the steady drumbeat of despair. The trick is that these lies often sound like your own voice. The enemy does not stand outside the walls, hurling insults over the ramparts. He slips inside and speaks from the shadows, imitating your tone, so that you mistake his voice for your own thoughts. And because you believe the words come from within, you accept them without question. Guarding your mind means learning to discern the whispered lies, to hold every thought up to the light of truth. It is not enough to feel a thing strongly. You must ask, is this true? For a lie believed has the power to chain you, while a lie exposed loses all its strength. The battle is not only fought against what you hear, but against what you allow yourself to believe. A mind untethered to truth is like a ship without anchor, drifting wherever the wind or current may pull it. It does not matter how strong the vessel is, without something firm to hold it fast, it will be carried away. And the winds of this world are ever changing. One day they whisper flattery, the next they howl with fear. A mind left to follow these shifting gusts will find itself lost, far from the safety of the harbor, chasing shadows across an endless sea. Truth is the anchor, the unyielding, unchanging reality that holds steady when all else wavers. It does not bend to mood or moment. It is not shaped by opinion or feeling. It simply is. And yet the danger lies in how easily we loosen our grip on it. We trade what is true for what is convenient. We abandon what is right for what is easy. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, we unmoor ourselves from the solid ground of principle and drift into the fog of relativism, where nothing is certain and everything is negotiable. The enemy delights in this. For a mind unanchored is a mind vulnerable, easily swayed by lies because it has no firm standard against which to measure them. A person who holds fast to truth may be shaken, but they will not be overthrown. But one who has let go will find themselves adrift, tossed by every new idea, every fear, every fleeting desire. To anchor the mind in truth requires more than mere acknowledgement. It demands a fierce, unwavering grip. It means testing every thought, every word, against the solid rock of what is right and real. For only when a mind is fastened to something greater than itself can it withstand the storms and stand unbroken amidst the ever-changing tides. Every thought we entertain shapes the walls of our inner world. Tell me, what are the battles you face in your mind? Share your thoughts in the comments below, not as a cry into the void, but as a rallying call, for we strengthen each other when we speak the truth. What you dwell upon shapes you. The mind is not a barren field, but a garden, and like any garden, it does not remain empty for long. If noble thoughts are not intentionally planted, something else will take root, something wild, thorned, and unruly. The soil does not ask what grows within it, it simply nourishes whatever is sown. The danger lies in the quiet way this shaping happens. A single bitter thought, entertained long enough, becomes a pattern. An envious glance, left unchecked, hardens into resentment. Thoughts of fear, rehearsed day after day, grow into a constant, gnawing anxiety. We often believe that these thoughts are harmless, that they come and go like passing clouds, but they do not. They settle. They build. They form the very structure of the mind, like ivy creeping up the walls of an ancient house until it cracks the stone beneath. If you wish to guard your mind, you must do more than pull out the weeds, you must plant what is good. For the mind cannot remain a vacuum. It will be filled one way or another. Fix your thoughts on what is pure, lovely, and worthy, not out of mere sentimentality, but because such thoughts strengthen the very foundations of who you are. When you meditate on what is true, it becomes harder for lies to take hold. When you reflect on what is beautiful, the shadows seem less dark. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending hardship does not exist. It is about choosing what you allow to take root in your soul, for what you ponder in the quiet of your heart will, in time, shape the person you become. The mind, like a garden, will always grow something. The question is, what are you planting? Darkness does not fight the light, it simply vanishes in its presence. It has no substance of its own, only the absence of something greater. A single candle in a vast shadowed room does more than flicker. It drives the darkness back. So it is with the mind and soul, the gloom of fear, despair. And falsehood cannot withstand the steady glow of truth and goodness. The problem then is not that darkness is too strong, but that we often leave too much space for it to linger. What surrounds you matters. The words you hear, the songs you sing, and the company you keep are not idle influences. They shape the atmosphere of your heart. A person who constantly drinks in cynicism and bitterness will find their mind darkened, even if they never invited the shadows in directly. The enemy does not need to shout lies if the air around you hums with quiet despair. Yet there is a remedy. Just as darkness cannot remain where light abides, so the mind cannot dwell in both corruption and beauty at once. Fill your world with what is good, with words that lift your thoughts upward, music that stirs your spirit to hope, and companions whose very presence reminds you of the truth. These are not trivial matters. They are lamps along the path, glowing beacons that keep the soul from wandering into hidden traps. It is not enough to merely avoid darkness, you must actively cultivate light. Like opening the windows of a long-shuttered room, you must welcome in the bright and the beautiful, allowing them to chase away the lingering shadows. For what surrounds you will either feed the flame within, or slowly, silently smother it. Guarding the mind is not a single act, done once and forgotten. It is a constant, unyielding watchfulness. It is not the work of a moment, but of every moment. The mind is like a city with towering gates, and you are its sentinel. A soldier does not stand watch for an hour, and then abandon his post, thinking the enemy will no longer come. He knows the danger does not sleep, and so neither can his vigilance. The most subtle attacks come when the watch is relaxed. The enemy rarely storms the gates with a clamor. He prefers to slip in unnoticed, a shadow among shadows. A small, unguarded thought, a quiet grumble of discontent, a passing spark of envy, a fleeting sense of pride, may seem harmless at first, but left unchecked, these thoughts multiply. What enters the mind as a whisper soon becomes a voice, and that voice, if not silenced, can take command. The fall rarely happens in a single dramatic moment. More often it begins with a crack in the wall, a single breach, until the whole fortress stands at risk. Vigilance means more than recognizing the obvious threats. It means examining the subtle ones, the thoughts that appear reasonable but carry a hidden poison. It means questioning what you allow to linger in your mind, for every thought is either building the walls stronger or slowly wearing them down. This watchfulness is not a grim, joyless task. It is the duty of a soul who knows the value of what lies within. A city worth defending requires a soldier willing to stand at his post through the long night, ever alert, ever ready. For the mind unguarded is a city open to ruin, but the mind kept with diligence is a fortress that no enemy can breach. The battle for the mind is neither brief nor easy, but it is worth every effort. For what you think, you become. The enemy knows this well, which is why he fights not with swords, but with suggestions, seeking to make you careless, to lull you into surrender without ever knowing you've laid down your arms. But you were not made to drift, to cower, or to be enslaved by falsehood. You were made to stand, to guard the gates with wisdom, to fill your soul with truth and light until there is no corner left for darkness to dwell. The choice is yours, every day, every hour. Will you let your mind be shaped by the tide, or will you anchor it in what is unshakable? Will you leave the gate open, or will you take up your post unwavering until the end? For the battle is real, and the victor is not the one who never stumbles, but the one who never lays down his sword. This war does not end with a single victory. It is a daily stand against the darkness. If you are resolved to keep your mind anchored in truth, and your heart steadfast in the fight, subscribe and join this growing army of watchful souls. The battle is real, but so is the light.